Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in here for another lovely day here at the Aquarium Project. We really appreciate the support we've been getting, but if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help us out quite a lot. But yeah, aside from that, that's really all the intro type stuff I had to do. So what we're going to be talking about today is angelfish. The angelfish, one of the most popular freshwater fish out there, but one that I unfortunately find has probably one of the highest degrees of misinformation around it, which I think is a real shame because it means that people sort of don't get out of an angelfish what they should do, which is they are a fantastic, very beautiful, very fun, interesting fish. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So this is an angelfish here, and we've got a few others. I'll kind of just talk over showing you guys the angelfish that we have in stock at the moment. But they're one of those ones where they're really cool because what you get with them is there are so many different like varieties and types of angelfish. So like these guys here is like blue with black stripes, and then you get like these koi marble, whatever they call them, like a silver, and then I'll show you some of the different ones further along. But there is always a different option that'll suit basically any aquarium. They are really fantastic community fish, but they do have a bit of a bad reputation. And that reputation is that of they are sort of known to be very vicious eaters of other fish and very brutal like fighters and everything. But yeah, that really isn't the case. Are they spawning right now? They spawned the other day, but there's a bristlenose in here that just had a nice feast. But yeah. I find they are only really something you have to worry about eating other fish. Like if I put a bunch of like tiny little fish in here, like if I put, I don't know, Chili in here for example, they would just have the world's biggest party and just eat them all. Obviously, any fish is going to eat anything that's going to fit in its mouth. But things like these platies, for example, you know, if I was to chuck these cherry barbs in here, for example, I don't know, penguin tetras over here, for example. If I was to chuck them in this tank, the actual angelfish wouldn't really eat them. So yeah, that's one that's kind of, they get a bad rep for it, but it's one that kind of just applies to any fish where if it fits in the mouth, it gets eaten, that's the end of the story. The other sort of myth or problem that is generally associated with the angelfish is that they're just really big bullies and just fight with everything. So that's true, they do that, but I find oftentimes it's not as much of an issue as it's kind of made out to be, maybe online on YouTube or like reading articles and stuff. Because the main problem with them is either they're with unsuitable tank mates that they're obviously going to fight with, things like gouramis, other cichlids, all that kind of thing, or it's angels fighting amongst themselves. So angels will fight amongst themselves, particularly if you get a pair forming. So there's sort of, the way I would suggest tackling the question of an angelfish in an aquarium is I would put a good group in to start with and then thin them out according to the aggression levels and everything. The other reason I think they get this sort of bad reputation is that what you'll often see is they're in tanks that are at the end of the day far too small for them, and so in that smaller aquarium there's obviously less space, less territory, and they're going to be a lot more aggressive, fighting over what space there is, really kind of on edge as a human would be in such a situation. So for that reason, I would always suggest the minimum sort of tank size you want for them is a 3-foot tank. A 3-foot tank would be about 150 liters, about 40 US gallons, or 90 centimeters long. And that is really the smallest tank I would put an angelfish in. You will often see, like anywhere you look, you'll see basically people saying, oh yeah, minimum tank size 20 gallons, 2 foot, what would that be? It's about 60 liters. And that is just, I think, in my opinion, far too small. It's one of those ones where like, I don't 100% know where it came from, but like someone said it once and now everyone just, you know, it's just like everyone kind of parrots that same information. But I would not be putting angelfish in anything less than a 40 gallon tank. That's going to give them enough space to kind of spread out and not be in each other's grill all the time. It's going to let them carve out their own area, and it's going to let them sort of calm down so they're not as on edge with the other fish as they otherwise would be. In terms of tank mates, basically anything calm, so nothing that's going to attack them, obviously, so like tiger barbs and serpe tetra is probably a bad idea, and anything that doesn't fit in the mouth, so like, you know, like I said, like the microrasporas and stuff, no good. Things like cardinal tetras, rummy nose tetras, pearl danios, harlequin rasporas, maybe borderline, but might work. The bigger body tetras, things like your bleeding hearts and that, they'll all be a good option, and they'll all be more than safe. The thing is, you don't want to put small ones in and then grow them up together if they're gonna get eaten. Because like maybe, you know, I say cardinal tetra will be fine. If it's an adult cardinal tetra will be fine. If you have adult angelfish and you put in a bunch of tiny little cardinals, they're just gonna have, you're gonna have some fat angelfish and nothing else. So things like that. Then I find things like cories, plecos, all that kind of thing that's like out the way, doesn't really, you know, don't worry about it. They just stay out the way and everyone's happy. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the general care. In terms of feeding, they're quite an interesting fish to watch feed, and so we'll chuck a bit of food in here. There you go, I just chucked some food in. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to eat too aggressively because they're pretty new to this tank and pretty new to me. But they are really come into their own feeding off the bottom. They will feed in the mid-water like you can see that one they're doing, but for the most part, feeding off the bottom is going to be their thing. They're fantastic scavengers. So what I would recommend is sinking food. You can do sort of what I've done here, which is break the surface tension with the flakes and let them sink, but otherwise, yeah, just sinking foods is going to be a good option for them. I really like, you know, things like granules and crumbles, that sort of thing, like the smaller pellets and that kind of granular food is really good for them. The flakes, obviously they have to eat a fair bit of flake to feel full, but something that's going to go down towards the bottom is really, really good for them. And you'll get to watch some really interesting type behaviors. They will feed off the surface, but that's not ideal for them. I find you're going to be much better off to sort of let them do their natural behavior as they are now. These guys aren't obviously feeding too hard because they're a bit new to the tank to be really fed, to be honest, but you know, they're going to town, and I think that's one of the things that kind of gets forgotten about them is they are good foragers, they are good scavengers. I'd really actually also recommend Repashy, particularly the Agapo Explorer, like the rainforest fish food. They really seem to go well on that. That's what I feed them in here. In hindsight, I probably should have used that for this video, but the gel foods is maybe not the most relatable yet for people. And notice how I say yet, because I love gel foods and I think it should be more prevalent, but that's not where we are yet. But yeah, I mean, angelfish are really fantastic fish to keep. I really enjoy them, and I think a lot more people would. But the problem with them is, the real problem with them is, they're just all, not all, but a lot of them are kept in situations where they're not going to thrive and they're not going to allow you to get the most out of them. And unfortunately, then it leads to people being like, oh, you know, they suck. Actually, much the same as what happens with African cichlids. If they're kept incorrectly, they're terrible fish to keep. You'll hate it. You won't get anything out of it. But in the right environment, they are fantastic. What a lot of people will do, and what a lot of people will have success doing, which I quite like as well, is just keep one. Because then you don't have to worry about them when they pair off. That's when you can have violence issues and all that. But just one in a 3-foot tank that's like heavily planted with a bunch of real active tetras or cories or something. It's going to be so much fun to watch and really relaxing. The other good thing with an angelfish is you get real good sort of interaction out them. You know, they'll sort of come to the front and beg and all this kind of stuff, which is just fantastic to watch and really, really interesting. So yeah, I hope that all makes sense for everybody, and I hope you do keep angelfish. They are really good. The only thing is, make sure you source good ones. Get these like here. this part here, their fin, top fin, is usually the one that is all kind of munted and bent. And that really sucks because they're so much, like, don't want to be rude, but they're so much less pretty. The deformed ones are so much less pretty. Like, get yourself some real nice good ones. You know, take some time, find a good breeder, find a good store, spend some money, and get some really good ones, because they are just honestly fantastic. I mean, like, look at these fish. That I'm just so fascinated with them. They're not really a fish we sell too much, the angelfish, but honestly, I don't know why. I should sell more of them. They're so cool. I might actually, like, I'm saying this now, and I'm like kind of thinking to myself, like, man, maybe I should. The reason we don't sell that many is because I don't really have a good source for good quality ones. I have like one or two people, but they can't keep up with demand. So like every month or two we'll get a batch in that'll last a weekend, and that's about it. I did get these guys yesterday from someone else, and I'm honestly so blown away with them. Like, their form, their finnage, even their ventral fins aren't wonky. Like, they're so nice. So yeah, I might have to become an angelfish guy. You never know. But yeah, I really do think, I do recommend them. I think they're fantastic. Just, they're one that doesn't get the love they deserve because they're not, I guess, given the right opportunities to really shine. But if you guys put in that tank, that really nice angel tank, the one that's designed around the angelfish, which I think is really what they need, I mean, there's no going back. They're just so cool. So yeah, I guess that's all from me today. But yeah, if you take anything away from this video, I hope it is, get an angelfish tank and really design it around the angelfish and really make it an angelfish tank and get the most out of them. And honestly, there's no way you will regret it. It's just such a rewarding fish to keep. If you've got any questions, obviously make sure to let me know. But otherwise, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I love you all so much, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.